Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Abdullah Konte. I'm here with another episode of Win Sports. Man, last night went to the Wizards game, saw the Lakers play, got some pictures of LeBron. I'll have those on IG here pretty soon. But yeah, look, those Wizards need some help, man. They got, it was up to a 40-point deficit at one point. It was good to see Luka and LeBron, but it shows that the Wizards got a long way to go. We're hopeful that the seasons will be better in the future when Trae Young starts playing, and maybe, after they get this lottery pick. But it's clear that they're in tank mode right now. But just want to chime in about that really quickly. This video obviously is going to be about maybe kind of where the Commanders are sitting, and is there a new favorite at that number 7 spot, especially after the Senior Bowl. And it's less about who was playing at the Senior Bowl, but what was being discussed at the Senior Bowl, and just kind of the information that I've heard just through deep diving YouTube videos and articles and stuff like that. But there seems to be some new discussions about a certain player potentially being slotted at that number 7 spot. So for those who've been following this channel, I did do a video about 7 people that I thought could be considered at that 7 spot, and I even gave like an honorable mention for 3 guys that they could potentially go after if they traded back. And the guy that we're hearing more about right now was not even a part of any of those players that I talked about. And it was not because I don't like the player. I really like this player also. It was just more of that. I just, I don't know. I guess I just didn't think about it being like a legit option unless it was a trade back, not at 7 specifically. But the guy we're hearing about is Sonny Styles. And this is a teammate of, that Ohio State defense was loaded. This is a teammate of Caleb Downs, a teammate of Arvell Reese. Sonny Styles is a really good player, and if you watch the game footage of these players, I remember the first time I saw him, I kept trying to find Arvell Reese, and this guy, kept making plays. I was like, who's this kid? Because he looks very similar. He has like the same kind of stature, it's a big guy, he can move. He doesn't play like Arvell Reese, like he plays differently. He plays really much more like a linebacker, and there's comparisons to him of Fred Warner. He's not, an edge type guy. He's a true linebacker. He played safety his first 2 years at Ohio State, and then moved over to linebacker, bulked up, move over to linebacker. So he can move. He's athletic. He can move quite a bit. And he's a player that I could see, I always thought would be a consideration if they traded back. But now we're starting to hear that, like, has he played his way into a top 10 pick? I know a lot of the scouts, a lot of people liked him. I know Logan Paulson, when I listened to his podcast, mentioned how much he liked him, but I'm not sure if he's that best fit for number 7. And but then obviously last week the first that I heard about it was that Daniel Jeremiah had his mock draft and mentioned him as the number 7 pick. And I was just kind of like, oh, it's interesting, because Daniel Jeremiah usually is pretty good when it comes to predicting, certain people. And it's early, right? Like, we're in January, the draft isn't until April, but I would assume that it's based upon what he's hearing from some of these owners, or maybe not owners, but GMs and scouts and stuff like that. Maybe just the information that he's getting overall. And somebody that's kind of dropped a little bit is Caleb Downs. And this video is kind of like me thinking about, is it potentially, or is it a possibility that they would go Styles over Downs? Is Styles above Downs at this point? Which, to me seems kind of crazy, but, I didn't think much of it when the Daniel Jeremiah article came out. I was just like, hey, it's just one guy's mock draft. It's early, whatever. But I also was watching the NFL Stock Exchange YouTube channel, which is Trevor Sikkema, as well as Connor Rogers, discussing, and they did a mock draft yesterday, basically a mock draft after the Senior Bowl, and they were talking about what would Washington do? And at this point in their mock draft, Arvell Reese was taken, Ruben Bain was taken, and David Bailey was also taken. So it was, that's kind of a situation where who would the Commanders take if those three guys are gone? In my head, I'm just automatically assuming that it would be Caleb Downs. But they talked about it, and they mentioned how, I think Trevor Sycamore was talking about how he had talked to Lance Sternline out there, and some other scouts and stuff like that. And there's this narrative going around, or this feeling that he might, Caleb Downs might drop into, the mid of the first round, not really, a top 10, and maybe at the bottom half or bottom part of the top 10. And they ended up picking Sonny Styles for the Commanders, and I just was kind of like, wow, like I'm really surprised by that, because obviously I think if a pass rusher is there, they would jump on that. If David Bailey's there, if Bain is there, if Arvell Reese is there, I think that they would grab one of those guys. But if those guys are gone, I just automatically think it should have been Downs, and they went with Sonny Styles just because of the fact that they feel like there is a bigger hole, bigger need. Obviously the Bobby Wagner thing is real. Like, what are they going to do with Bobby Wagner? Is Bobby Wagner retiring? Is he coming back? And I think it's also to change their defense, right? They mentioned about Durante Jones, and I also listened to a podcast with Mitchell Tischler talking to one of the beat reporters for the Vikings about how, he believes for sure that they're going to be focused on pass rush more than anything else, which makes sense with the aggressive type of nature that Durante Jones is going to be going with. And so you would think that it would be somebody else. And they mentioned maybe Cassius Howell, but they just felt like that was too early for Cassius Howell. So getting, if they do move to a 3-4 front versus a 4-3, is Sonny Styles the guy that they want to go after? Like, do they feel like the bigger hole is linebacker versus safety? I don't know. I mean, I just think that when you look at the tape and when you look at the film, it's really hard to pass up a guy like Downs. And I get it. Safety is just not a premier position. I would argue it's very similar to linebacker. And I would say that the way that Downs plays, he plays all over the field. I mean, his first year at Alabama, he had 107 tackles. That's more than any year of Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles' highest had 100 in his junior year. So, if we're just talking about tackles and production there, and in that year, Sonny Styles played in 16 games where Downs only played in 14 games. So, he's a Thorpe winner. He's an All-American. He was a freshman All-American. Like, I worry that them passing up on a guy like Downs would be kind of similar to when people passed up on Kyle Hamilton, including this team. They traded back. I was screaming for them to draft him, and they traded back, and I think they regretted it. It's the same thing with Brian Branch, who went into the second round. Another player I thought that they would draft, that they didn't, do that, and he ends up being an incredible safety. Derwin James went later. There's this weird thing about not valuing safeties, but then when there's a good one that they pass up on, it's like, oh man, it would have been nice to have that guy. And so I don't know, man. I don't know if what you guys think, but I feel like they're just kind of overlooking the fact that this is a good quality player. And, I get that Sonny Styles is a good quality player too, but man, there is this notion that these teams are going to make a mistake on Downs. And so if he drops down again, if there's another quality safety that gets dropped down because of positional value, it would be kind of alarming to me, of what, they are looking at. I think at the end of the day, it's like, get good players. I like the model of best player available. Sometimes I think these guys overthink it. So, basically, what do you guys think? Like, I mean, what do people think about the fact that Sonny Styles is starting to be somewhat of a favorite here? Does it make sense? Should they be, considering Sonny Styles at that number 7 position? I still think it's a little rich. I still think that, if it was me, I think it would be preferable to trade back. And I get it. It's like you have to have a trade partner to trade back, right? So it's easier said than done. But if they were to trade back and get a Sonny Styles, I'd be like, all right, that's great. I think Sonny Styles at 7, I don't know. There's just no way if I'm in that position, I'm passing up Caleb Downs, right? But it is going to be interesting because the more we're hearing, it sounds like these DNs are probably going to go higher than people think. I mean, it sounds like Bailey and Bain, they were both supposed to be at the Senior Bowl, and it was already crazy that they were even signed up for that. But the fact that both of them didn't come kind of says like, hey, man, they didn't think they needed to be there, and they think they proved enough to not be there. And so yeah, like my take on it is just that if Sonny Styles is the guy, I think people do need to recognize, including myself, Sonny Styles is a really good player. Like, he is very smart, and he seems like very high IQ football player. That's what I see in his game. Makes smart plays, and he does make a lot of good plays all over the field. When you watch Ohio State, like I said, I first started watching them really looking for Arvo Reese and Caleb Downs, and he was making plays all over, and I was like, who is this guy? This guy's good too. But I just can't imagine them passing up on Caleb Downs. But maybe they will. I mean, there are certain teams that do it every year. There's always a guy that goes way lower than it's expected. And so my question, to those is, would you take Sonny Styles over Caleb Downs? Is this a crazy, argument, or is this maybe the way they need to go? I mean, there's a big hole at, there's a big hole at backer. There's probably more safeties that they can get in this draft. It's a better safety, draft class than people think. I personally would rather them go with Downs and maybe get like a Jacob Rodriguez in the third if they can. I think there's some good linebackers as well, but is it smart to go linebacker here? I mean, a lot of people are kind of over the Bobby experiment and just feel like he's too old. Is it smart to get the next guy in line here, or do they address it in free agency? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I appreciate the love and support we've been getting recently. Just want to keep up with the content and just keep talking football. I'm just a guy who likes talking football. So thank you for watching, and let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, peace.